WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
A massive fire at a Lexington stockyard sent smoke into the air that could be seen for miles. Good evening, I'm Kristen Kennedy. We are back now with the breaking news we first brought you live on the air this afternoon. The fire started at the Bluegrass Stockyards on Lyle Industrial Avenue off Old Frankfort Pike around 2 today. Firefighters are still there nearly 4 hours later. And we begin our breaking news team coverage with WKYT's Caitlin Sentner. Caitlin is live on South Forbes Road. Caitlin, have they managed to contain this fire?
I just talked with Lexington fire officials, Kristen, and they have contained this fire. They told me they're starting to work on those hot spots now, and now they are still very much hard at work. You can see behind me here, fire crews still out. Lexington fire arrived on scene, as you said, around 2:30 this afternoon, and it took around 120 firefighters to battle this massive fire, none from outside agencies. Bluegrass Stockyards is being ruled a total loss, and just to put that into perspective for you, between 8 and 9 acres of the property is under roof, and it's all being ruled that total loss. Luckily, we can report only a handful of employees were working today. Unfortunately, there were 25 to 30 cows inside. There's no word yet on the condition of the cattle. We spoke with the owners of the property who say they're very happy no one was injured, but looking at this fire, it was just hard to stomach.
You know, we're just going to go on. I mean, that's the way it is. This was a very old historical building. We hate it because of that.
That's the reason we hate it. It's the oldest building.
A lot of memories. Gene's been here all of his life. I've been here all of my life, and that part is sad. But as long as nobody was hurt, we'll rebuild. We can go on.
Essentially, this entire block is being ruled a total loss. Other businesses were impacted, one of those being a car impounding lot. Now, those who live nearby within a half-mile radius were instructed earlier today to stay inside and to turn their HVAC off. That has been taken down. They are allowed to come outside now, but they have opened a shelter for those who are impacted by the fire. It's opened at Cardinal Valley Elementary in Lexington. Caitlin Sentner, WKYT.
Caitlin, thank you. There were some employees at the Bluegrass Stockyards when the fire started. Many employees tell us they are okay, but they are at a loss for words. WKYT's Mark Barber continues our breaking news team coverage from the scene. Mark, I know you talked with an employee. What did he tell you?
Good evening, Kristen. About an hour ago, I spoke with a veterinarian who has worked here about 16 years. He says this massive fire will have a devastating impact because this was a primary place where cattle, hogs, and sheep were traded and bought in central Kentucky.
I mean, it has an impact on all of us in a lot of different ways. You know, I mean, for one, it's your job and how you make part of your living, and just the history of the stockyard and the time that it's been here, and it was a staple amongst the livestock industry across the United States.
Troy Keith says for many years this was the largest stockyard in the country east of the Mississippi. When flames started tearing through the stockyard this afternoon, smoke could be seen as far away as Louisville. The towering wall of smoke drew crowds of people who wanted to see the spectacle. It also drew employees who were sickened by the damage. We're told this was not a sale day, but by this time tomorrow, there would have been 1,200 animals here, as well as hundreds of people. Those who buy and sell here say seeing the stockyards crumble into a pile of ash was very hard to watch.
The biggest thing is just, you know, this was kind of the granddaddy of the other stockyards for the most part. You know, I mean, it was the big one, and it's the most historic one, and you know, it's you know, a lot of people's got a lot of memories here.
Now, since this was the largest stockyard in the region, Keith says many farmers who came and they sold everything of their livestock here, they will now have to start traveling out to farther stockyards. We're talking about places like Mount Sterling, Richmond, much smaller stockyards, in order to trade their livestock. That's the latest here in Lexington. I'm Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you. We are getting dozens of reports of smoke throughout Lexington because of the fire. People from Lawrenceburg to Mount Sterling are telling us they can see the massive plume. WKYT meteorologist Jim Caldwell has been keeping a close eye on those reports. And Jim, with the wind as strong as it is right now, how far is that smoke traveling?
It has certainly traveled at least deep into Bourbon County. The actual smoke plume itself getting into that area, and then it will continue to filter out as it works its way eastward with the winds we're driving it a little bit earlier. And just to think of it for the size compared to some of the buildings in downtown Lexington, it made them look very, very small. It was just huge out there. And what was feeding it was this. Earlier today, when the fire was at its peak, we were talking sustained winds. That is the average wind speed over 2 minutes time. It was coming in 20 to 25 miles per hour with the wind gusts that were driving it off toward the northeast at around 30 to 35 miles per hour. What I'm going to show you here is a look back in time at that smoke plume. We go back to earlier in the day. Our radar could actually pick up on that. There's when it's at its peak. Check this out. We're looking at the entire plume. That's around 13 miles from one end to the other. Right here is the Bourbon County line, and that was the actual plume itself working its way into that area at that time. Again, that was right around the peak when the smoke was at its thickest and blackest and darkest. So just an amazing sight to see when you see it on radar, and then when you could see it on our Skycam. Some of the pictures just absolutely amazing. You're right, reports from all around with that wind just driving that smoke through the area. Kristen?
And remember, you can keep track of all updates on this massive fire on our website, WKYT.com, or with our WKYT News app. Also affecting Lexington right now, 2 separate power outages. The first of those outages is near the fire at the Bluegrass Stockyards. About 40 customers there are without power. The fire, Kentucky Utilities crews are telling us, has burned down 6 poles and electric lines, and KU crews won't be able to assess the damage until the fire is contained. The second power outage, KU crews say, is because of a transmission blowout affecting 7,500 customers on busy Nicholasville Road. Our live drive traffic map shows how those outages are impacting the current traffic flow. All stores and restaurants at the Fayette Mall have no power right now, and this is a live picture of the scene near the mall. KU crews hoped to have power restored there by 7 tonight. We also have a view for you from Officer Don above Fayette Mall. It shows the parking lot filled and people trying to leave. Mall leaders just said that they will remain closed for the rest of the evening. Firefighters in Montgomery County are investigating a deadly fire. Around 5:30 this morning, firefighters went out to a mobile home on Camargo Levee Road. They say a man who lived at the home escaped, but his wife didn't. WKYT's Mike Byer is talking to their neighbors.
Charles Garrett has called this spot along Camargo Levee Road in Montgomery County his home for the past 13 years. This morning was different. Garrett tells us he woke up after his walls started shaking.
And I heard this big roar, and that's when I really looked out the window.
Garrett says what he saw put him in shock. It was his neighbor's home engulfed in flames.
Initial call come in around 5:30 or so of a mobile home had exploded.
Montgomery County Battalion Chief Jody Thomas says after arriving on scene, they found one of the homeowners, a man, sitting on the front porch of a neighbor's home with serious burns to his face. He was then airlifted to University of Kentucky Hospital. The man's wife, however, never made it out.
We located a female victim inside the structure. She was deceased on our arrival.
The married couple's dog was also in the home at the time of the fire and hasn't been found yet. Battalion Chief Thomas tells us it took over a dozen emergency vehicles to put out the flames, but he says they were too much for the mobile home. He says the fire remains under investigation, but he doesn't believe there was any suspicious activity.
Something exploded.
Meanwhile, Garrett says his neighbors are nice people who he's known for several years.
They used to come into the store that I managed all the time. That's where I first met them.
He tells us the neighborhood won't be the same after this morning's tragedy.
It's sad. You know, you never want to hear anybody losing their life.
In Montgomery County, Mike Byer, WKYT.
And we want to continue to track that breaking news alert in Lexington. We are getting an update on that fire at the Lexington Stockyard. Firefighters are talking to the media right now about the investigation. Let's listen in.
100 block of South Forbes. If you could call 231-5600, speak to one of our telecommunicators, give us just a little information as far as how we can contact you, but also if you can contact any of your employees just to make sure that everybody is accounted for and safe.
Are you helping businesses yet?
I've not counted them yet.
And are you wanting witnesses to call that phone number as well?
If you have information, yes. If you have information to give, we would appreciate a call to that. That's not a number to receive information. That's why we'd kind of like to know how to get back with you so we can contact you later.
Were there any animals inside?
The management of the Stockyard could not provide a particular number. However, it's not near a day of a sale where they typically have a large population of animals. He said there's not anything to be concerned with. There may be, he's not sure.
The lighting in our last interview was just a little bit bright, so I'm going to ask you again if you can just talk about the effort that these firefighters put in. I know it was really hard with all the wind and how much work it was for them.
Absolutely. The fire companies that work in this part of town, they know this block. They know what the potential was. Practically as soon as they turned out of the station, and one station is just on the backside of this block, they were calling for more help. With the amount of smoke they saw, they knew this was going to be a significant event. It went to a third alarm very quickly, which taxes us, quite frankly. It brings the majority of our resources that are on duty on any given time into that. But they did a good job. There are places very close to the fire that they protected, and then they obviously kept it cut off going down this way. A lot of effort. Typically when we go to a fire, it's one of these things where you pick your spot and you work from that spot. Here they were picking up hoses, they were picking up moving ladder trucks and water supply. Much different from what we do on a daily basis, but they did a very good job, did very good.
How fast did it spread?
Well, with the wind driving it across the street when they got here, it would be hard to quantify other than to say very quickly.
And is this the biggest fire in the last 30 years?
I've been here for 33 years. This is the largest fire that I know of in that 33-year period.
Never anything like this?
Never anything like this.
And people were seeing this from as far as Louisville, you were told?
I had heard from someone that I know that they could see smoke from Louisville.
I think I'm good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And we will have much more news after the break right here on WKYT.
Get 5 amazing deals. Up to 50% off furniture and mattresses. Up to 20% or more off TVs and appliances. Savings as good as the state sales tax break. 0 interest till 2019. And free delivery. Hurry to our super sale weekend.
Nobody beats P-Rats.
Arby's Mix and Match 2 for $5 is back. Mix and match 2 of these tasty things for just $5. What the heck are those? Bacon, ranch, and cheddar on curly fries? You should definitely get those for one of your tasty things. Then get another thing. But start with the loaded curly fries for sure. Arby's, we have the meats.
If you've been injured in an accident, your injuries can last a long time, even a lifetime. Visit forthepeople.com. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
There's just something special that makes Simple Truth and Simple Truth Organic a natural part of every family. Great food is something all generations can enjoy together. And you'll find hundreds of smart choices, even brand new products for baby and your home. Just look for the Simple Truth green circle on the label. Simple Truth, putting simple within reach.
Right now, save up to $40 with digital coupons at simpletruth.com.
That's the sound of Sirius XM, controlled by the largest touchscreen in its class. This is the sound of someone blowing past the last gas station for over 500 miles. That's the sound of 4 usually rowdy kids enjoying their favorite movie. And together, these are the sounds of a well-executed automotive symphony. During the auto show, returning FCA lessees get $6,000 total cash allowance on the purchase of 2016 Chrysler Town & Country vehicles.
It's P-Rats Super Sale Weekend, and this LG high-efficiency front control washer is just $4.99. Huge 65-inch 1080p LED TV, $6.99. 0 interest for 18 months on TVs and appliances.
Nobody beats P-Rats.
Get WKYT news and weather updates on Mix 94.5. Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
Weather-wise today, spectacular temperatures in the low and mid 60s throughout most of the area. Keep in mind, it's January, and we're talking about those type temperatures. As we move forward, a lot of change comes our way. Not tomorrow, though. We're in pretty good shape there as well. Let's look outside and back toward the downtown area where you're seeing fantastic looking sky starting to really light up there. And earlier today, I'll tell you, just an amazing look at that smoke plume that was working its way through the area. It covered most of the skyline in this particular view. It was just incredible to see. But now things are much quieter throughout most of the area. We're down to 59 degrees in Lexington, which is still something to be very happy about. 58 in London. You got more warmth across southern and eastern Kentucky. Clouds are coming together from our north as we've got a frontal boundary that will make its way toward us and spread some showers into the area, probably late tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. An isolated chance of that, and it gets a little bit better into Monday as we likely track some more rain into the area. Here's our hour by hour. We'll look ahead to 8 o'clock tonight, and you can see those clouds trying their best to continue to invade. We start the morning off in the upper 40s. That's pretty good. Above our normal daytime high, so we're doing very well. Well above it, too. Keep that in mind. Tomorrow, we're back in the low and mid 60s throughout most of the area. Monticello and Somerset, with this particular run of the model, also trying their best to get closer to 70 degrees tomorrow. Could it happen somewhere in Kentucky? Absolutely. We have that type of warm air trying to run the show. Break out into some showers. You see them here more toward 11 o'clock midnight time range, getting into central Kentucky. So there's that first batch attached to the frontal boundary that will be sweeping into the area. And that'll take some of the temperatures down quite a bit as we get into Monday. Not quite as warm. You see some of those low 50s, probably close to 60 in some spots. But that's the first one. We have a couple of different waves. The next bigger one associated with the first one, that's the one that has more concern because it has a lot of potential for severe weather tracking into the area as we go into Tuesday evening. Strong winds, damaging winds at that. And we could also be talking about the potential of tracking even some severe weather. And what I mean by that is we could be talking about very intense thunderstorms that have tornadic possibilities associated with them as well. You don't need to see traffic. I'm going to show you a 7-day forecast that has all kinds of change in it. Look at that right there. You go into Tuesday up close to 70 degrees, and then by the time we get into Wednesday, we are back in the 40s for highs, low 40s, maybe even a few flakes of snow at the end of that as we track some storms there as well. I mean, just a messy forecast from top to bottom.
And this is not normal for this time of year either.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
She was a Kentucky civil rights legend. The first African-American woman elected to the state Senate has passed away. Former Kentucky State Senator Georgia Powers died this morning in Louisville. WKYT's Michelle Chamberlain talked with a fellow senator about Powers' legacy.
She had a presence about her. When she spoke, people listened.
People across the Bluegrass said goodbye this morning to one of Kentucky's prominent civil rights leaders.
She had the respect, and she'd earned the respect of being a member of the Kentucky General Assembly. That's not easy to attain that, you know.
Georgia Davis Powers was the first woman and African American to serve in Kentucky Senate.
She was somebody that you felt honored to work with.
Republican Joe Graves of Lexington served in the Senate with Democrat Powers in 1976.
She was on the Rules Committee. Those people on the Rules Committee had earned their membership because they were so effective and so respected.
Powers was one of the main organizers of the historic 1964 March on Frankfort. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led that march of more than 10,000 people at the Capitol. The march eventually led to the passage of the Kentucky Civil Rights Act in 1966.
I would consider her one of the most important Kentuckians, African-American Kentuckians in the civil rights movement.
Powers retired in 1988 after a 21-year career in the Kentucky Senate.
I think it's a time that reminds us all that Kentucky has been very fortunate to have been served by people like Georgia Powers.
Michelle Chamberlain, WKYT.
Powers was 92. Lee K's in now with sports. The Cats tip off against the Jayhawks in less than an hour.
They do. You know, it's a big night for the Wildcats, one of the biggest non-conference games on the schedule. When we return, we hear from both of the head coaches. We also hear what they expect from tonight's game. That's sports. It's next.
At WKYT, we stand for Kentucky. We stand for the people of this great Commonwealth. We stand for hard work and for those who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. We stand for the little guy, and we root for the underdog, if we ever had to. We stand with Kentucky through hardships and through triumphs, through uncertainty and through tragedy. We stand for the big city and the rolling hills alike. And we stand for the one unifying factor that brings us all together. Pride. Pride in our home state, in where we've been, and in where we're going. At WKYT, we always have been, and we always will be, standing right here with you. WKYT stands for Kentucky.
He was sneaky. But that ain't the worst of it. If I catch you fishing here again and use you for bait.
Did you ever do anything that you wondered if you was doing the right thing?
It's just plain extortion's what it is. Look, jab, jab, and chop and smack.
Well, why do you suppose he did that?
Mighty good question, ain't B?
What if I say I won't give you the knuckle? A knuckle sandwich.
Opie, son, you all right?
Ain't it a beef?
The Andy Griffith Show, tonight at 8 on the CW Lexington.
I'm so sorry.
Your father's death was a suicide.
Our dad would never do this. It is a mortal sin. You treated him like he was a failure.
He knew I was ashamed of him.
I think he knew you loved him.
I say he's dead because of you.
A new Madam Secretary, then. Are you out of your mind, Mrs. Florick?
Do you have any guns in this apartment?
A new good wife after Madam Secretary CBS Sunday.
The insurance company offered me a settlement, but with all the medical bills and the car repairs, things just aren't adding up. Why does it have to be so confusing?
The insurance company's offer was barely enough to cover my medical bills, let alone my car repairs. They just don't seem to care about the pain I am in. I'm confused.
It doesn't have to be confusing. Just call Isaacs and Isaacs. I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs, the Hammer. And my firm will work hard to make sure you get everything you deserve.
Calling the Hammer is a way to go down to 553-0000.
98.1 The Bull and Hardee's presents the Red, White, and Boom Music Festival 2016.
Starring Jason Aldean,
Eric Church,
Florida Georgia Line,
Thomas Rhett,
Cole Swindell,
Casey Musgraves,
and many more.
Powered by the Lexington Clinic. Labor Day weekend, September 2nd through the 4th at the Whitaker Bank Ballpark, Lexington.
Tickets on sale now at
redwhiteandboom.com.
Kentucky Duke, Kentucky North Carolina, Kentucky Louisville. These are just a few of the matchups that send UK fans into a frenzy. Kentucky and Kansas is another one. Tonight, two of the basketball's most storied programs will converge on the court. Coach John Calipari said last year's blowout win over the Jayhawks in Indianapolis will have no bearing on tonight's game. Cal did say this year's team is beginning to build a swagger about itself because that's the way they're playing defense. But he sees Alex Poythress as one of the big keys to winning tonight in Lawrence.
If he really gives us something, it gives us that one piece that makes it. And, but I like what I'm seeing. I like that. How we're playing offensively. It's going to be harder this game because they get after it. They switch. They do stuff. They're man to man. They run gaps. They take chances. They get up in you. It'll be a challenge again for the young guys.
Last year was an anomaly. We had a great team last year. One of the best teams in history. So you got to kind of throw that out the book.
Of course, Kentucky fans will remember last year's 32-point win over Kansas. KU coach Bill Self certainly does as well. He's thankful that most of the cats from that team are now in the pros.
They don't have all those guys. Don't have Collie Stein and Anthony Towns and Lyles and some of those guys, but they do have some of the same cast of players, obviously, with Poythress and Lee and Scala's obviously making an impact. So they're a good shot blocking team, and they're a terrific offensive rebounding team.
It's Kentucky and Kansas, 7 o'clock. You can see it on ESPN. Kentucky, by the way, hasn't won in Lawrence since 1985. Well, tonight over in Richmond, two old foes will renew their rivalry. EKU hosts Morehead State in an OVC showdown. This will be the 185th meeting between these two schools. EKU has won 5 of the last 6 games against the Eagles. MSU coach Sean Woods says one of the keys tonight will be limiting EKU's offensive runs.
Well, for the fans, it's major. It's a really tough conference game between the two schools. So you really, each game counts, especially in the conference, and this one really counts also. They're a tough out. They're a very explosive offensive team. So we just got to really be solid defensively and don't let them really get on major runs.
Meanwhile, the UK women will attempt to get back in the win column tomorrow, but they'll have to do it at Florida. The Cats will head out on the road for 6 of their last 7 games in the league. So Coach Matthew Mitchell says he needs more from his younger players. He says, though, that's the responsibility of the experienced players. They need to do a better job of talking to the freshmen.
We've got a senior and a junior in Janae and Michaela who just have to really make sure their experience is transferred to the other players, and we're just not talking to our younger players enough, and it falls on their shoulders, and they just have to do it right now because we have to get more out of our freshman class.
Top 20 matchup in the ACC, and 16th-ranked Louisville would struggle with the 11th-ranked Virginia Cavaliers. Raymond Spalding getting in for the easy hoop. He had a team-high 12 points, but Virginia was dominant from start to finish. Darius Thompson and Mike Tobey for the jam. 43-21 Virginia. White suit Rick Pitino, not a happy camper. Malcolm Brogdon feeds Anthony Gill, and he puts it in with 2 hands for safety. Louisville committed 18 turnovers, snapping their 4-game winning streak. Virginia all over the cards, 63-47. Well, the Senior Bowl is the last chance for college players to impress the pro scouts in a game-like situation. UK linebacker Josh Forrest and EKU's Noah Spence on the field this afternoon. Forrest and Spence both playing for the South team. That's the team in white. Forrest making the stop in the first quarter, and then Forrest flying in to take down former Ohio State wideout Braxton Miller right there. You can see he's got his blue UK helmet on. The best outside rusher, though, all week was Noah Spence from EKU, co-defensive player of the year in the OVC with a sack here. Spence putting pressure on the North quarterbacks all day long. Spence coming up with another stop right here, this one for no gain. The South win it 27-16. Noah Spence, however, could be one of the biggest winners of the week. Noah Spence, a name that a lot of people don't know, transferred from Ohio State to EKU. He could be a 1st or 2nd round NFL draft pick this next year.
Be interesting to watch.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with a final look at weather.
Negotiating an injury settlement with an insurance company directly without an attorney may seem like a good idea at first. After all, you get the whole pie. But studies by the insurance industry itself found that settlements are much larger when the injured person is represented by an attorney. Hi, I'm Kevin Renfro of the Becker Law Office. Most importantly, even after the attorney's fee is paid, you still get more than settling by yourself. Don't go it alone. Serious, experienced results. Call the Becker Law Office. Just dial 3.
No 2 babies are alike. And no 2 birthing experiences are alike. At the Women's Hospital at St. Joseph East, we believe you should have your baby your way, with a birthing plan designed around you and a level 3 neonatal ICU. A personalized childbirth experience isn't just good for mom, it's good for baby. Kentucky One Health, the one name in healthcare.
At the end of the broadcast, I'm most proud of what we have done as a team. This is the ultimate team sport, television news, and all of the people that have contributed to that night's broadcast, people who have risked their lives to tell the news and to deliver to the American people the highest quality news broadcast in the world today. That is a very satisfying feeling.
Tonight's Powerball jackpot is $96 million, and Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $63 million. hard to believe we're not talking about snow right now.
It is. We're actually going to be talking about severe weather quicker than we will be snow. That's what's odd about this January going into February forecast. Tomorrow, for the most part, looks great. Late in the day, you'll run into chance of some rain. Highs low to mid-60s throughout the area. There's going to be a big difference between Lexington and probably southern Kentucky tomorrow. There could be close to 70 degrees in some areas down there, but here, in the 60s, not bad.
I hope you'll join us right back here at 11 o'clock tonight.